Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Alugo. Thanks so much for being here Monday, October 13th. Your Jacksonville Jaguars, they fell, as you all know, yesterday to the Seattle Seahawks at home, 20-12, coming off a big Monday night victory against the Kansas City Chiefs, who, by the way, had themselves a game last night on Sunday Night Football. Jags couldn't quite get themselves prepared to win a football game against the Seattle Seahawks on Sunday. There's a lot to get into. We're going to dive into my top takeaways here today. Really appreciate you being here. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. You can also check out GenJag.com. Pick up some new Duval gear. Help support the channel. Look good while doing it. Thank y'all so much for getting us to 10,000 subscribers. So we're going to dive into my top takeaways from this game. Number one is, in both of the games that the Jaguars have lost this year, the Jaguars beat themselves. And I know, you can go back to the game against the Bengals and say, if they hadn't called that one pass interference on the last drive on Travis Hunter that shouldn't have been called, the Jaguars win that game. That is true. But it's also true that the Jaguars shouldn't have been in position to lose that game on a defensive pass interference based on all the missed opportunities they had before that in the game, right? 100%. Now, I felt like today it was penalties. Again, you had 10 penalties, missed opportunities. There was a couple missed throws. There was a couple missed reads. There was definitely some drops. I mean, the most egregious offensive lack of execution in between quarterback and receivers and all that is BTJ over the middle, just looking for the hit and drops the ball. That's a killer. Third down, big moment. That's a killer. It really is. And I mean, you can also point to Travis Hunter being called for lining up offsides. I think it was very close. Travis Hunter says he checked with the ref about where he was lined up. I don't know, man. But obviously fluky play. But sometimes you need a fluky play to go your way. And it did, except for Travis Hunter being lined up offsides, according to the officials, right? You have the play where Trevor throws it downfield. Josh Jobe looks like it should be an interception, pops into Brian Thomas Jr.'s hands. He walks into the end zone. It's a touchdown, but it gets called back, right? Again, that goes back to penalties, missed opportunities, drops, some missed reads. Horrible offensive line play. And I do mean horrible. Like, it is one thing to have some pressure allowed to the Seahawks. They have a good defensive front. This was all-time horrible offensive line play by the Jaguars. This was one of the worst offensive line performances after rewatching it that you will ever see by this football team. Embarrassing effort. They looked lost. And the Seahawks do run games up front, but guess what? Anthony Campanile runs games up front. Everybody does it these days. I mean, not literally everyone runs a lot of games, and they do a really good job. Mike McDonald is a great coach. I feel like this wasn't even on the list of takeaways, but I feel like the Jags went up against a coaching staff that was 100% as good as they were. Mike McDonald is a great defensive coach, and I think a really great coach in his details, coaching both sides of the ball. And then Clint Kubiak is a really good offensive coach. He's a guy I thought should have been in the running for some head coaching jobs. I thought the Saints should have just kept him in the damn building. So that's a really, really strong head coach, defensive mind, and then Clint Kubiak, offensive coordinator. They did a great job, but there is no excuse for how bad the offensive line play was by the Jaguars. Absolutely atrocious. And so that's again, the Jaguars beat themselves, and they've beaten themselves in both games that they lost so far this year. Credit the Seahawks who made plays, but like the Jaguars had every opportunity to take care of this football game, and they couldn't because they beat themselves. The second thing, though, is the Jaguars' offensive line a problem? I don't think it is. I think that this was based on the fact that we've watched the Jaguars play 6 football games. This was the first time they looked outmatched. against a really talented defensive front and a really well-coached defensive front. I think this was probably a one-off where you don't have Robert Hainsey, who arguably has been the Jaguars' most consistent offensive lineman. Maybe not even arguably. I think he has been the Jaguars' most consistent offensive lineman and the captain, one of the captains of the offense, certainly the captain and the leader of the offensive line. At center, a lot of it is about communication and getting guys in the right spots. But that wasn't it. The guys were just losing one-on-ones, not being able to understand how the defensive line was attacking them and being able to react with proper technique and fundamentals. They were just losing. They were losing. 7 sacks, 33 some odd pressures. And that's you get into okay, you're losing most of the game. You're throwing the ball more than you should against this team, but you can't run the ball. And they came into the game thinking they could throw the ball because there's no Devon Witherspoon, there's no Julian Love, there's no Tariq Woolen. So they're like, okay, we're going to take some shots down the field. And Trevor Lawrence was holding on to the ball longer than normal, but it's because he wasn't comfortable. The shots weren't open. And you do hold on to the ball a little bit longer oftentimes when you feel the rush coming and you're just trying to escape. We're talking about the difference between 2.5 seconds and 3 seconds. It's not a long time. You held onto the ball a little bit longer because you don't get it off because you feel like guys are just all over you. It's like, it was an onslaught. It was a blitzkrieg, whatever you want to call it. It was insane watching that Jaguars offensive line again. I came into the season thinking, the offensive line could be improved here or there. Walker Little had a horrible game. He's had some horrible games this year. The rest of this season, he is on notice. He is on notice. If he cannot find more consistency throughout the year, they're going to probably have to look for another starting tackle. I think when you look at McCary, when you look at Cleveland, and by the way, most of these guys are playing through injuries. Anton Harrison playing through injury. They just had to play better than they did, and they didn't. That was a tough watch. It really was. And then also on the offensive side of the ball, how much did they miss Brenton Strange? A lot. Hunter Long, good number 2 tight end in this system. Really, really poor number 1 tight end in this system, it looks like. And Brenton Strange is just so good. He is the perfect tight end for this football team because he's tough, he's physical, he brings it, but he's also a really good receiver. And the Jags really missed that today, I think, on the offensive side of the ball. So they're going to be without him. Most reports are 5 weeks, something like that. Obviously, you're a week in now. You have the Rams coming up, and then you have the bye week, and then a couple games after. Maybe he misses a couple games after the bye. But they need him. They absolutely do. And I've seen some folks talking about, hey, should they trade for a tight end? I don't know about that. It's not like he's out for the season. He's out for maybe 3 more games, something like that. And not every opponent is going to, get you coming off of Monday Night Football, I do think that had a part to play in this loss. The emotional and physical toll that it took to beat the Chiefs, Monday Night Football, coming in on Sunday. But look, you have to be able to overcome that. I'm not making excuses. I'm trying to rationalize, did that happen? It seemed like it. I also just think that they played a team that was really well coached, and the Jags were not ready. They weren't ready to be the team that can execute consistently and win a game. They were right there. But yeah, they missed Brenton Strange in a huge way. Getting him back will be a major boon to the Jaguars offense on pretty much every front. Going to continue talking about this football game, but first, y'all know football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Next op is Monday Night Football. Got another doubleheader. I'm looking at Rome Odunze, half a touchdown, higher or lower than half a touchdown. He scored a touchdown in every game so far this year. I'm going higher on that. I'm also looking at Bijan Robinson, 75.5 rushing yards, higher or lower. Yeah, you know what we're doing. We're going higher for Bijan Robinson. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Duval Daily to score $100 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code Duval Daily. Underdog. Make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy if you're supporting them. You are supporting us. Have a good time over there. All right. So, yes, the Jaguars, they beat themselves. They missed Britton Strange. The offensive line was an unbelievable problem in this game. I also think defensively, not having Newsome at full speed, not having him, really ready to go in this game, which everybody was blaming him for that touchdown early, or whenever it was, to JSN. There was no inside help, and there should have been, right? Cover 3. That was another play where, and this is going to be another thing to talk about, like Dewey had a really bad game, but I also just think that Anthony Campanile kind of got beat for the first time in some spots where like they just had the right call for your defense on that play, and there was not much you could do. Even with that, like it wasn't like the guys were wide open. If Dewey was in the right spot there, that could be a pick. I mean, it was a great throw by Sam. It was a great route by JSN, who's a wonderful player. I mean, unbelievable route runner, great at catching the football, just awesome player. But I will say, not having Greg Newsome, in my opinion, at full strength slows you down a little bit. And when I say full strength, he wasn't injured. It's just like he got to the team on Thursday and had to play a game on Sunday. That it's going to take a little bit longer than that. I think you would hope to have Greg Newsome fully playing, as much as he possibly can coming out of the bye week, probably. So you have one more game against the Rams in the bye week, and then after that, hopefully he could be fully integrated. And then Trayvon Walker not playing all that much, not at full strength, still playing with the club, all these things. That didn't help in my opinion. And then also the usage of Travis Hunter felt like, I don't know, just kind of felt like he wasn't out there enough. Because he's just so good when he's out there, especially on defense. I don't know. It's not about they have a long-term plan for Travis, and they're still trying to work their way through this rookie season, and still we're only about a third of the way through the year, so they're still slow playing it a little bit at times. Sometimes that can be frustrating because you're like, the guy's so damn good, just get him out there. But I don't have any problem overall with the way that they're handling it, and they're still working to get better every single week in how they're handling it. So it's a unique situation. I mentioned this was the first time where it felt like Anthony Campanile got beat a little bit just in the calls that they were in. The Seahawks had the perfect calls. They knew how to beat the leverage. Darnold was money. You talk about Sam Darnold having one of those Sam Darnold games, seeing ghosts, whatever. You have to get pressure. Like, they didn't get a lot of pressure in this game. They just didn't. So that's going to make it difficult to really have a major impact. I mean, the Jaguars got their butts kicked on the lines of scrimmage. Now, Jaguars run defense, kudos, good job, right? But pass rush, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. Do you need to get some upgrades on this defense heading into 2026, maybe even in the coming weeks before the trade deadline? There's been rumors, there's been scuttlebutt about the Jaguars trying to upgrade the defensive front. I'm all here for it, right? If they can go get themselves one of them dudes on the interior of the defensive line that can really be a game changer. Like, I don't think in any way, shape, or form, like Eric Armstead, Devon Hamilton, I don't think either of them has been bad this year. I just don't think either of them is playing like a star, right? They're both useful and helpful, but neither of them is playing like a star. And if you could get a star on the interior of the defensive line, that could really change things. It really could. But the run defense continues to be very quality for the Jaguars. And overall, I mean, you talk about you have some plays where they clearly got you, and for lack of a better term, with your pants down. And then you have some plays where they just know how to beat leverage, and Sam Darnold's putting it on a perfectly run route. And you still only give up 20 points. Like, they made some big stops. They did. I mean, the defense overall did a good enough job to win the game, even despite all these things that I'm saying. They did. 20 points allowed to a good football team. You gave your offense the chance to go win the game over and over and over again, like multiple times, and they just couldn't do it. Cam Little and Logan Cook are spiraling right now. I mean, that is alarming. It absolutely is. Logan Cook, he had some decent punts. He also had some horrible punts. Cam Little, I think that's the first missed extra point of his entire career. I'm not just talking about in the NFL. I'm talking about his entire kicking career. And Logan, these guys, I don't know how you get out of this tailspin that they're in, but they got to figure it out. And after all that, after all the issues we just talked about, the Jaguars lost by one score to a good football team. They are 4-2. If the playoffs started today, you're the top wildcard team, right? The doom and gloom is out of control. And I know it's not everybody. There's a lot of viewers here and a lot of people on social media that are respectably putting this into context and being upset that you lost, but not saying, oh, they need to get an entire new offensive line. Oh, they need to do this. They need to do that. They need to get rid of Trevor Lawrence. He's the worst quarterback ever. He's not him. You're 4-2. You are 4-2 in the first year of a brand new regime after playing over the last 4 weeks. You played the Texans, the 49ers, the Chiefs, and the Seahawks. And you came out of that stretch 3-1. Okay? Football's not perfect. Football is not, NFL football especially, it is not perfect. Very rarely do you have a team that goes 15-2. And usually when you find that type of team, it's a team that has a lot of time on task together, a lot of talent, Hall of Fame level talent, right? They're 4-2 in the first 6 games of a brand new regime. Let's pump the brakes a little bit, folks. Enjoy the ride. It stings. Losing sucks. It does for everybody. But it's one thing to analyze why you lost, try to kind of figure out how they can do some things a little bit differently, maybe have an upgrade or two here or there. But the doom and gloom and rampant negativity to me is just crazy. And I know it's not everybody. It is the vocal minority, but it just irritates me. So really appreciate y'all being here today. We will continue to analyze this football game, continue to analyze the Jaguars, obviously, moving forward. Get another show out here for you later today. But thank you all so much for supporting the channel, and hope you have a good one.